Vincenzo's Gold Crypto Investing this August the 30th, 2025, early afternoon update here as I'm watching the college football opening weekend, number one versus number three. And I got to be honest with you, both these teams don't look like the number one ranked team or the number three ranked team, as it's been an offensive stalemate of lousiness in the first quarter there with Texas and Ohio State. And I'm here from the great state of Michigan, where a real football team is from that knows how to hammer the rock and win championships, right? But if we look at the Bitcoin price, you can see it has rebounded slightly from yesterday's low. And what we were talking about, we wanted to watch to see this weekend is this going to actually be a confirmed breakdown? Because something that we seen here was, if we zoom in even closer to the 2-hour time frame, see that right here? So take a look at what happened here. So we obviously know this in purple, this rising channel, lower support. That's your 3.5 year to almost 4 year support, major pattern support. We came out of it, came back up into it, traded along it, got back into it. Now on the retest, we failed. Then we came down and dipped on Friday, had a ferocious rally from 109,000 all the way back up to 111,000, hit it exactly just below it and got harshly rejected and turned around and came down. Now, if this doesn't come back up here and get back up into it, that's a confirmed breakdown. And your next underneath target would be a very, very percentile based farther below where you're at now, because your technical target, you would hit the 200 day, but then you would breach that and you would have to come all the way down here another 10.64% or $11,584 down to the 97,302. Then there would be a bounce there, but if the pattern was actually structurally changed, because if we look at it here in the daily time frame, you can see there's your 3.5 year. Ever since you broke into this back in September of 22, so 3 years this month in September that we've been in this rising channel, you could look at a $73,000 down the line a little bit later on into the future, but that's all for speculation on a different day, because these targets would then become available if you actually break down out of this and change the overall structure of the pattern, and you're losing a 3 year pattern support. Downside risk becomes extraordinary, right? You have extraordinary downside risk, and then something and a reason you need to be JABRONI Killer members to get the first mover truth, trust, education, and information is that you know that with all the Bitcoin quasi-treasuries that these Fortune 500 companies like a MicroStrategies across the world, there's over 400 of them now, have borrowed and leveraged their future or their company on the price of Bitcoin only going up. If it stays sideways for years, they lose and they get leverage called. If it goes down any substantial amount for any substantial time, or just even fast enough, far enough down, they get margin called, they get positions called, they get leverage called. They have to force sell, liquidate, and or at worst case scenario, bankruptcy. And this could cause a cascading feedback self and the Bitcoin price, where a company, say, gets a call of 1,000 Bitcoin on loan. If their loan gets called, they have to sell it into the open market, causes the price to go down, which causes another company that's on the border of being called due to loan slash capital, the loan amount to the value of their own company, the valuation can be too great. Then they get called, which they have to sell into the open market, which drives down the price even faster, which brings more companies into it, which drives them into forced liquidations and selling, which drives the price down even farther. And it's this cascading feedback. And it's leaked itself now into the rest of the financial world, where I feel this could be what causes what has the politicians would put it, a Republican with deregulation and crypto caused a financial crisis, which would bring in substantial new regulation into the financial world, kind of like the 2008 financial collapse did. You would get another one that would usher in more control, more political oversight, fees, penalties, fines, and all of that. And I think that's what could be what's happening here. And I'm very concerned about that. If anything ever did slip with the Bitcoin price, not saying it's going to happen now, but into the future in a couple of years, I could see that absolutely playing out. But in the current time frame, and that's for as cheap as $3.99 a month, you can help support the channel to keep these videos free on our way to becoming an asset millionaire. And then you can learn and participate and understand what I do by buying dollar depreciating by buying asset appreciating things under a dollar depreciating and sacrificing world. Gold and silver bullion and mining stocks, 401k, study investing, real estate, cryptocurrencies, some cash on the side, earning a minimum of 3 to 5% in short-term CDs or bonds for emergencies such as house repairs, health, car repairs, or the most important reason is to buy a new asset when the time it happens to be, or accumulating into an existing asset, right? And you can see the Ethereum price has got rejected just below the $5,000 mark. I believe that was a new all-time high. You can see it got rejected, came straight down where I think it's coming down to. Come on. We don't want it on there. You can try everything in your book to get me to keep you, but it's not going to happen. It's just going to make me never want to get you. Just like we got rejected here just below the high, tapped the $4,054 megaphone neckline support, had that technical rally. This was all called by us here. Then we were saying you could get rejected after you're starting to turn around. And then we were saying here, after you got rejected, you're going to have to come down to the 4,054. And if it breaks it this time, you would look at the 100-day moving average of the 4,076.35. Now, could it just tap this and have a ferocious rally? Absolutely. And that's something that we're going to pay attention to and we're going to look for to see if that's actually what does happen as this interacts with the $4,053. Because you do know on a breakout of this, the megaphone pattern technical target is $10,900. That doesn't mean it has to do with this year or next year, but that's something that we have to pay attention to see if that's something that we can eventually work our way towards. But obviously, this all comes down to, in the short term, what happens when you come down to the megaphone neckline support. If we move along to the XLM, the same thing. You're sitting just below, and you can see XLM has a fastly falling 50-day, a 100-day that is just starting to turn over, and a 200-day that is just starting to run parallel. And just like we talked about yesterday, if we zoom into the 3-hour time frame, you can see that right now we're currently below the 100-day moving average and this critical 36 cents, right? And that's the top part of this green trading zone. And we do know if we do break below this 36 cents like we are and can't get back above it, you're going to, just like that, come down to the 31 cents of the bottom part of this green trading zone and then try to hover around the 200-day moving average. So in the short term, if you want to avert from the current price, because it'll act like a magnet from the current price, that would be a 10.96% drop. You have to fight this holiday weekend and over next week, get back on top of the 36 cents in the 100-day and then just try to form a base and be on the top side of that. But right now, you're extremely bearish, and the price is going to want to act like a magnet and get driven down all the way to this 31 cents, right? And that's something that we're looking at in the short to medium term in the XLM price. If it got any kind of rebound and got over top of the 36 cents, then you would start looking at making a run up here towards the 50-day moving average in the daily time frame. XRP is at a very similar state. It's sitting right on the 100-day moving average right now. If we look at the daily time frame, you can see the 50-day moving average is ever so slightly now started to trend down. The 100-day moving average is running parallel now as of today. We're just above the 100-day moving average. And then the 200-day moving average is sneaking up ever so close to this $2.55. And that's an area that I believe that you're going to come and target. If you can't hold the 200-day moving average, you're going to come straight down to the $2.55, just like a rock. And that's probably around, just like the Bitcoin, just like the Ethereum and the XLM, a 10% drop. And you'll see it's a 9.23% drop from where you're at. And you can see by the time you get there, the 200-day will be slithering and stalking like a predator, that $2.55 level. Oh, of course, they give them a felonious free first down. Let me see this bullshit call. Oh, yeah, he's got his hands. Oh, he ripped his helmet off, you idiot. And that will be what leads to the first points and first touchdown of the game, when they're going to have to punt and you give them a free first down. And that's how college football and football works. So it will be 7-0 Ohio State before you know it now, off of a stupid play by a felonious and fraudulent number one ranked team in the nation on week 1. But that's where this will drop down to like a rock, the $2.55 if you slip this $2.77. And that's something that we've been talking about for several weeks as the price has been stagnating off that $3.66 level. And we were struggling here at the $3.07, and it was being used as major resistance. And that's what you would look at. Now, if you want to avert coming down to the 255, you got to hold this right now and start to build a rounding bottom and then charge and get over the 250, the 294, the 50-day, and then try to get back over this 307 critical major upper resistance in the XLM price. Like the channel, subscribe. There won't be a lot of updates this evening as the great team of Fighting Wolverines and the Jerome Moores with my $11 million Bryce Underwood 5-star number 1 rated player in the nation. Another felonious flag. Another felonious flag. They're just marching him into the end zone, giving him points on this drive. They're going to be playing a night game today against the horseshit garbage team, so it should have been played right now. But that is what's going to happen this evening. We'll give you maybe another update when I get home at around midnight tonight. Peace and love. There will be an altcoin update coming. The Rock's Eyebrow, Jay.